Hello, hello, it's Julie Davison from juliedavison.com. Welcome to Thursday Night Stamp Therapy. I'm so excited that you are joining me for tonight's video. I will be sharing 3 projects tonight, all that use an embossing technique. I hope that you tuned in for Tuesday's Great Big Card Swap. That's over on YouTube on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month. And the theme for October for our next swap is embossing. And so I've been getting some questions like, tell me about embossing. What is that about? So tonight I'm going to share 3 different cards that use different embossing techniques. So we're going to go over heat embossing. We're going to go over an embossing folder technique. And we're also going to talk about embossing paste. So if you've been wondering about embossing, or if you're just looking forward to some fun cards, you are going to really love tonight's video. So say hello when you pop on. Let me know what you're doing tonight. If you're watching live, tell me where you're from. If you're watching the replay, you can still tell me where you're from. Tell me that you're watching the replay. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future card making videos. If you're watching on Facebook, give me a thumbs up too, or give me a heart or some kind of reaction to let me know that you can hear me okay. And make sure to follow my channel, my page on Facebook, because I'm always sharing new announcements and information. In fact, just an hour ago, I shared some information about my World Card Making Day class. I will be sharing that information in between cards, so stay tuned. I'm really excited. Finally got that all worked out, and I cannot wait to make cards with you on Saturday, which is World Card Making Day. Oh my gosh. Yes. Hello, Robin and Tony. I'm so glad you guys are here. Hi, Karen and Nancy. Sherry, hello. Did I see some? Yes, Karen from South Florida. I hope that you're safe. If you're down South Florida, hopefully you've missed a lot of the hurricane stuff, but let us know how you're doing down there. Oh my gosh. All the pictures and the videos of Hurricane Ian in Florida are just crazy. I cannot imagine being in a hurricane or a tropical storm. Like, it just seems like so relentless. You know, we've got thunderstorms here and tornadoes in central Illinois, but they move quickly, right? They move fast and then it's over. And I just feel like the hurricanes and the tropical storms are just so relentless and long and, you know, drawn out. And oh my gosh, it's just devastating to see all the destruction that it causes. Okay, let's put all of that aside for tonight. Let's talk about some good feelings. The first card I'm going to make tonight is using the Good Feelings stamp set. And I was really excited because I'd been eyeing this one and I finally got it during the stamp set sale. Did you guys pick up some stamp sets during that sale in September this month? It was such a great sale and I was able to get a few of the stamp sets that I've been thinking about. So I'm using this one for the first time. I'm going to use Sending Sunshine and Good Feelings Your Way. And so wherever you are, whether you're in Florida or anywhere else, if you need some sunshine, I'm sending it your way tonight. I hope that you feel my sunny vibes. So our first technique, we talked about doing embossing. So our first technique is going to be heat embossing. And I've talked about this before, and we've done some heat embossing before. So this may not be new to some of you, but to some of you who are, I'm going to really walk through step by step how to do the embossing technique. Okay, so we got our Good Feelings stamp. I got that all mounted here on my block, ready to use. I've got some cardstock pieces. For this card, I'm going to do a watercolor technique with the embossing, and so I'm using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is from Stampin' Up. It's our watercolor paper. It's really, really gorgeous paper. So if you're doing watercoloring, you know, you really want to have a good watercolor paper. So this is 100% cotton paper. Let me see if I can get an item number for you. 149612. In case you want to get that, you can get it in my online store at juliedavison.com/shop. Okay, so this is the paper I'm using, and this paper is I think it's 5 by 7, and so I cut 2 cards from it, and I cut a little bit off of the 5, so I cut it down to 4 3/4, and then I cut it in half, so I've got 2 pieces that are 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So I can make 2 cards, and we'll see. I think I will try to make 2 cards. It's just easier. Do you guys do that? I always love to make 2 cards because when you start cutting your card stock for the card base, you cut that in half. And so it just seems to make sense to make 2 cards. All right, I'm going to also use our embossing toolkit. I forget what this is called. It's in the mini catalog, and this is a really good step up. Like there's some basic things that you need for embossing, like the heat tool, a Versamark ink pad, and some embossing powder. So this is like level 1 embossing. And then if you're ready to like step up your embossing game, then I would suggest the addition. What is this called? I'm just gonna look it up. It's the Embossing Additions Toolkit. I actually think I got it right. So it's 159971, and you can find it in the July through December mini catalog on page 49. I'm guessing it's going to carry over, so if you're watching this down the road, it should still be in the catalog. So this Embossing Additions Toolkit includes a powder pal. So this is a tray we're going to use to dump all the powder and put it back in. And I'll show you how to do that. It also includes an embossing buddy, which is going to help take away all of the oils and other things on the card to make sure that the embossing powder is only sticking to the ink. Okay, the Embossing Additions Toolkit also includes a brush to brush any powder off your project or out of the pan into the jar. And then it also includes this really amazing pair of tweezers. And this is going to be to hold our project. It's got a ceramic point here so that it won't heat up and burn your project when you're using the heat tool. And so we're going to use that as we hold the project so that we don't burn our fingers. I've done that too many times. All right, so let's start. Step 1 with embossing. And I'm going to do both of these at the same time. Step 1 with embossing is to use your embossing buddy and just to spread it on your cardstock. So I'm just going to kind of rub it on the cardstock. And again, this is just sort of prepping our surface so that there's nothing that is going to distract the ink and the embossing powder. I'm using the Versamark pad and I'm going to stamp the image. So I'm bringing that in, and my stamp is bigger than the ink pad. It's no problem. So we're just going to sort of keep moving the stamp up and down until we get ink coverage on the whole thing. Now the ink is clear, and so it sometimes is hard to see it, especially when you're doing it on a white cardstock like this. So it's invisible, but we're going to make it appear by putting the powder on. So I'm using black embossing powder and I'm sprinkling it on to the card. And then you're going to tap off the extra. So you're doing this in the tray, and this embossing powder, this black, is really, really fine. And so even though I use the embossing buddy, it still does stick to some of the sides of my cardstock. So I'm going to use that brush and just kind of brush off all the extra little powder pieces. Oops, I just accidentally brushed the design. So I'm just going to add some more powder and tap it off again. And that worked like a charm. Be careful with your brush so that you're not getting it. And then oh gosh, there's like just a few little bitty pieces. I might have to leave that one in the middle. Okay, so that was one. I'm going to set this aside and we're going to do the second one because, like I said, we're just going to try to multitask here. So we're going to ink up the stamp again. Sometimes with the bigger stamps, I put it upside down and it just is a little steadier. We're going to stamp right in the middle, and then we're going to do the embossing powder again. Looking pretty good. All right. Oh, there's that little bitty spot. Let's see if I can get it. Loosen it with the brush. All right, that looks awesome. Okay, I've got some stray embossing powder here, and I'm just gonna try to get it off into the tray. And then with the tray, we can open up the end. And where's our jar? We can funnel that embossing powder back into the jar and use it again. Leave a comment, let me know. I know a lot of you have done heat embossing, but if you haven't, I would definitely love to know. So we can use all that embossing powder again. And then I've noticed sometimes that I have extra embossing powder that sticks in my tray. So when I'm all done with the video, I'll just take this into the bathroom and just give it a little wash. You know, you can use the brush to kind of, you know, help brush and get it all in there. But like I said, this black embossing powder, which is my jar is really old, so I don't know if it still is this fine, but it does, it seems really fine and sticks to everything. So I'm going to clean that out a little bit later. Next, we're going to heat with the heat tool. And this is always, this is the fun part. It's like magic. So we're going to heat with the heat tool. I'm going to hold the cardstock with the tweezers. And then the heat tool has two settings. Mine are kind of rubbed off. There's 1 and a 2. And so these are just different settings of heat. Like this is low and this is high. And like if you're embossing on vellum, then you want to use the low setting. But if you're embossing on cardstock, you can use the high setting. And so we're just going to heat the powder until it melts. And as it melts, it gets a little bit darker and shiny. So we're just kind of watching for that. And I'm just going to go over the areas and emboss each section at a time. Okay, I'm gonna pause. I feel like I can't see well on the camera, so I'm just getting a closer look, and I feel like it looks pretty good. I don't see any loose powder, so I'm gonna say that one's done, and we're gonna switch over to the other one. And here you can kind of see the difference. Like the darker one is the one that's done, and the lighter one is a little bit more muted, I would say. Like, can you kind of see the difference there? So we're going to heat this one. It should go faster because the heat tool is already hot. Stampin' Up! Embossing powders come in 2 different variety packs. There's the basics. I don't know if you guys can hear me over the heat tool. We have the basics, which has white, black, and clear. And then the other one is metallic, and that has the silver, gold, and copper. And so you can get those. They come in sets of 3, so 3 different jars in the same set. Okay, so that's heat embossing. It is such a fun technique, and I'm trying to see if I have any other samples handy to show you. The metallic always looks really pretty because it's shiny and gold, and yes, the embossing powder is almost as dispersible as glitter. It can make quite a mess. Okay, the second step to our project is going to be a watercolor wash. And so because we did the embossing will resist the watercolor. So it's going to kind of stand out from the watercolor. It's going to look really awesome. So I'm going to take a black. This is just a regular clear black, and I'm using some re-inkers for embossing. I picked the colors Daffodil Delight. I wanted some really sunny colors, and I have some Mango Melody. Both of those are in the brights. And then I also picked Calypso Coral. I thought these colors were just so warm and so perfect for our card. I'm also going to use the water painters. These come in a package of 3, and each one has a different tip. So there's one that's really wide, and we've got then just a smaller paintbrush. Actually, this is the bigger one, and then the smaller one is a little bit smaller than that. So I'm going to use, I don't know, let's use the wide one tonight. And so, oh, you know what? I didn't put water in the wide one. I put water in this one. That was the one I intended to use. So there is a reservoir that you can put water in. So this this screws off, and it does screw in the opposite direction than you're used to so that it doesn't leak, okay? So you unscrew that and you put the water in here, and then you can squeeze on the reservoir where it says push, and it puts water up into the brush. So you have a watercolor brush with a built-in water cup. It's amazing. So we're going to take and we're going to add just a little bit of water here to the yellow. And then we're going to just do a watercolor wash over the embossed image. So I'm starting with the lighter color, and then I'm going to move to the darker color. And I'm trying to decide if I should do both cards at once or if I should do one at a time. I'm going to add a little bit more and do the other card as well. Scenting Sunshine. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. As I'm doing it, I'm seeing some black embossing powder. So clearly the end of my G was not all the way embossed. Oopsie daisies. It's so hard to tell sometimes. That's okay. It'll just add a little texture to our project. You can see over here that it was completely embossed. Using a paper towel here to sort of clean the brush before I move on to the next color. Annette, I see your question. Could you please give an example of why you would use clear embossing powder? So you can use clear embossing to do the same kind of technique that I'm doing here with the watercolor wash. And the clear embossing allows you to see the color underneath. So instead of black, it would maintain the color of the paper. And so it would kind of pop through being the color of the paper. I have another sample. It's across the room. I'll tell you about it though. Mom shared it in Sunday Stamping with Susan and Julie when we did the candy canes. And she stamped the candy canes in red, and then she stamped again in Versamark. She used the Stamparatus so that she could get it stamped exactly in the same spot. So she stamped in red, she cleaned it and stamped in Versamark, and then embossed with clear so that it was shiny like a candy cane, but you could still see the color underneath, which was red. So there's several different techniques that I have used clear embossing powder for. That might be one of the embossing powders I feel like I use the most for this kind of emboss resist technique. Okay, so we've got our yellow. Our next color is going to be the mango. I'm adding just a little bit of water to kind of pull that up, and then I'm going to brush it over. And I love these watercolor techniques because it's going to look different every single time you do it. You can try different colors, you can blend them a little bit, but I just love the brightness, and I just love how it looks different every time, right? It's like a custom card. No two cards are the same. I'm doing a little squeeze as I do this to get all of the orange color off my brush so that we can move on to the dark color. This is Calypso Coral. And oh, so pretty. This is so warm and sunny. It makes me happy. And this is going to go right here at the bottom as well. Sending sunshine and good feelings your way. You could do a little bit more blending if you wanted to in between, but I like the stripes. Okay, so that is the watercoloring part. I'm just going to clean my brush before I put it away so we don't have any of that residual color in there. And I'm also just going to take that same paper towel and wipe the ink off my clear block so that I can use it for some stamps. Okay, so that was technique number 1 with embossing. We did emboss resist and then a watercolor wash over it. And I didn't really think about this when I was preparing for the video. These really need a little bit of time to dry, not a lot. In fact, I feel like this one is pretty dry already. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to finish it. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. And then I will actually glue it down later. So we're going to take... we've got a basic black layer. So the watercolor paper is 3.5 by 4 3/4, and the black is 3 3/4 by 5. And then this is going to go on the Calypso Coral cardstock like that. So when it's all done, you can add some sequins, or, you can dress it up however you'd like. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love how bright and colorful that is. Okay, so 2 cards. There we are, first 2, and this is the first embossing techniques. So tonight we're talking about embossing techniques. Okay, so heat embossing is one way to emboss. Another way to emboss is dry embossing. And back in the day when I first started stamping, we had these like these brass templates and a light box, and we would actually take a stylus and we would do some dry embossing and create this look. Well, now we've got embossing folders and the die cutting machine that make it so much easier to create embossed designs. Oh, thank you so much, Heather, for answering. So the colors I used, again, the watercolors are Daffodil, Mango Melody, which almost looks like pumpkin pie, doesn't it? And Calypso Coral. They look a lot darker, and I'm thinking that maybe they're going to dry a little bit lighter. It is Calypso Coral. That is my card base. You can see, like, this looks a lot darker, doesn't it? Okay, so for the next project, we're going to do a technique with an embossing folder. Now you can just use the embossing folder straight up and get some texture on your card, and we do that all the time. But I wanted to show you a really fun technique inspired by Meza Sama. She sent in a card for the Great Big Card Swap using the carved wood technique that she found from Gina K on YouTube. I found Gina's video. It's like literally under 5 minutes. She has several videos, but she has one that's a 5-minute card, and her video is like 3.5 minutes. And this technique could not be any easier. I tried and fumbled when I did my swap video earlier in September. And I made it look so complicated, and this technique really is so easy. So we're going to make this card tonight, or a version of it, using the carved wood technique from Gina K. Okay, so we're going to use an embossing folder. I'm using the same one that Meza used for her card. This is the Leaf Fall embossing folder. It is in the mini catalog. Let me show you, because it's hidden in here. I really feel like you can see it, but it's really hidden. It's on page 53 of the July through December 2022 mini catalog, and it's right up here in the corner, Leaf Fall embossing folder. You can also see it in the back. I just love that they have an index of all the products in the back, and so that might be a place where you may have noticed it a little easier right there. Leaf Fall 3D embossing folder. Okay, you can do this technique with any embossing folder, but I really love this one, and I thought I would use it since Meza did as well. So here's what we're going to do. We've got some pieces of cardstock. I'm using, oh, I got a little rough cardstock there. I'm using an Early Espresso card base, and this is just the standard 8.5 by 5.5. And then I have 3 pieces of Very Vanilla. So I have one that is 4 inches by 5.25. This is going to go inside the card. And then 2 pieces for the front. This one is 3.5 by 4.75. And this one is 3.75 by 5 inches. And those are going to layer and go on the front. It's the smallest of the 3 that we're going to use for our technique. So I'm going to put these other pieces aside. And the first step on this card is to do some scoring. So we're going to use the paper cutter, but you could also use your Simply Score tool to do the same thing. So on this card, we're going to create some vertical score lines. Your paper trimmer comes with 2 blades. It comes with a cutting blade and a scoring blade. So we're going to use the scoring blade to score every 1/2 inch. So I like to use this this side over here for measuring. So I'm doing a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to do 1 inch, and I'm going to turn it around, and then I'm going to line it up at 1.5 and 2 inches and 2.5 and 3 inches. Okay, so every 1/2 inch I've got my score lines. And you got the bumps on one side and the score line on this side. Oh, I was just kind kind of seeing your comments come through, so I want to kind of show you. Instead of using the re-inker on the clear black like I did, I was just trying to get some concentrated color. You can squeeze your ink pad and pull your ink in the lid and use that for watercoloring. It's the same ink. So if you don't have the re-inkers, that is another option. But I just use the re-inkers because it's nice and concentrated and I can just get a couple drops out. Okay, so we have our score lines. The next step is to do some dragging with our ink pad. I'm using two colors on this card. I'm using the Crumb Cake and Early Espresso. And so the first one is going to be the lighter color. And I need a piece of grid paper for this. I'm going to use our small grid paper, and I'm going to open up the ink pad and I'm going to drag it across the cardstock. And I find that you want to kind of have your ink pad like at an angle like this to drag it. You don't want to put it down because you don't want to drag the whole thing and just have like a mess. So I just kind of take one end. I don't know how well you can see that angle, and I just sort of drag it on the cardstock. And you've seen, I've done this technique before, kind of a direct to paper. And it is really fun for like a distressed look. So we're kind of trying to create the look of a wood grain. And so first we added the lines, and now we're adding kind of the color to create this wood grain. What do you think? Does it look like wood? The next step is going to be to use the embossing folder. And so we're going to get out the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And for a 3D folder, ooh, we need to come up, I think, on the camera. Let's try this. Ready? Oh, we're going to go for a ride. 1, 2, 3. Whoop. Okay. For the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine with a 3D embossing folder, we're going to use the platform, which is number 1, and we're going to use our embossing folder and the specialty plate, which is number 4. Okay, so how are we going to do this? We want to put we want to do this so that the design is kind of opposite, like debossed instead of embossed. And so normally I would put my cardstock in like this with the logo side up and the inked side or the top of the cardstock up, but I'm going to do this the opposite way. I'm going to put this with the logo side down. So there's the Stampin' Up! Logo. I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to put the cardstock ink facing up. So I'm kind of doing it backwards from normal. And I'm going to put it through the embossing machine. With embossing folders, you always lead with the crease, with the fold of the embossing folder. So I'm going to layer that on, and we're going to send it through. And I'll show you what I mean about being debossed. Okay, so normally the embossed cardstock, we do the raised edge side up. But for this project, we want the debossed side, or the indent of the image. Okay, so this is the debossed side. This is the raised side. That should be on the back. And the debossed side is on the front. Okay, so now we're going to do another ink drag with the darker color, Early Espresso. And we're going to do exactly what we did with the lighter color. And I'm going to kind of keep that angle. And I'm going to drag it across the cardstock. And you can keep going and get it like as dark as you want. But the idea then is that it's highlighting the lines that are in the image. And it looks like these leaves or the image is carved in wood. Isn't that cool? I really love how this looks, and it is so easy. I will say, though, a little messy. I usually am a little more clean and simple and don't get myself so messy, but this technique is worth it. So you can make it as dark as you want. You can kind of get a little heavier with the ink pad until you get it how you want it. Actually, I didn't do too bad with that. But I do want to clean my hands really quick with some sanitizer and just make sure there is no little bit of ink. Where's my sanitizer? There it is. No little bit of ink on my fingers to transfer. So I'm actually going to I'm going to try to just give this like a little rub between the paper because I don't want to transfer that ink at all to my project. So let's actually just get this out of the way. And let's sanitize really quick to get all the ink off my fingers so we don't have any mishaps. I don't want to ruin this project because isn't that just gorgeous? Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm going to come down a little bit on the camera again. Okay. All right, so our card is going to be kind of clean and simple because I don't want to cover this technique up too much. So we're going to come back to our layers here, and we're going to do, we've got this for the front. We're going to layer those together. And then we're going to stamp a simple greeting. I've already got this. Oh, see, it still is a little bit wet, so you have to be careful as you're working with it. In fact, I'm going to bring in the back side of our paper to glue. Like I'm just kind of rubbing the glue on. Oh, it's crooked. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Oh, of course I gave it a good back rub. We're going to just tear that apart, straighten it out a little bit. It would be smart if you have a heat tool, you could use the heat tool to just dry the ink a little bit before you handle it. Yeah. Rubber gloves would work too. Yes. Okay, so we've got our piece together, and this is going to go on the front of the card. Oh, I've got adhesive on there. All right, so this is going to go on the front. Oh, isn't that sharp? Oh my goodness, this would make such a great masculine card. Do you have any masculine birthdays coming up this fall? I mean, really any time of year though, right? So then we're gonna add our greeting next. And I've got a leaf. This is from Hello Harvest. And this is gonna go on the inside. And then for the front, I have the sentiment. And this is coming from Inspired Thoughts. I love this one. I hope that you picked it up during the stamp sale because it is so versatile. So this one says, it's your time to be remembered, to feel appreciated, and to know you are celebrated. I think this would be such a good one for a retirement, right? Oh, that's a little better. Okay, on the inside, I'm going to do a smaller sentiment that says, thinking of you on your special day. So this really could be, it could be for a birthday or, you know, an appreciation day or a retirement or something like that. I'm going to use the crumb cake and add some of those stamped leaves on the inside just to kind of bring in that inside design or the outside design to the inside. All right, so just to dress this up a little bit, I'm going to use some of this woven ribbon. I really, really love this. This is new in the mini catalog, and it is just such a great light texture kind of ribbon. So I'm just going to do a little fold of ribbon, and I really love this to have distressed edges. So I'm not going to worry about trying to keep it straight. I am just going to fray that up a little bit and trim it. Okay, got all kinds of a mess going on here. Let's put that over here. All right, so this is going to go on the back of the tag. And, like that. And then this is going to go on with dimensionals. And then our inside piece will just go on with regular adhesive. Okay. Oh. Well, I wanted to do it where the empty space was, but I kind of have that on upside down, don't I? Okay. So we're going to just reverse the ribbon. Reverse the ribbon so that it's just coming off the other side. And then I'm going to put this high instead of low. There is that. Let's get this on the inside. Oh, I know, right? Oh my gosh. If you love this card, you've got to give this video a thumbs up. Give me a heart. Show me some love here. Is this card not just totally awesome? Thank you so much, Mesa, for your inspiration. And thank you, Gina K, for the amazing tutorial so that I could learn how to do this awesome technique and share it with you today. Oh my gosh, I just love it. Love, 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 love it. Okay, I'll have a list of all the things that I use in the video description at the end of the night. I will put together a shopping list. So I'll have the leaf fall embossing folder and the punch and the stamp set and all that stuff. So you guys, if you want to remake this card at home, you'll have all the information about what you need. Okay, so that was card number 2. Our first card, which is actually dry, so let's go ahead and glue that together. Our first card, we did heat embossing. And our second card, we did a technique with the embossing folder. So that's another type of embossing. And so our last card, we're going to do embossing paste. And this is something that I have to admit I haven't really used a lot. And so you might not have it. This might be a little something that is a little more advanced, but another option for doing embossing with the for the swap this month. Also, I want to say, and maybe I should show you this really quick. Let me show you really quick this other option for faux embossing. Excuse me, let me see here. Okay. I'm going to do this super, I wasn't planning on this, so I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what I need. Let's cut. Oh, this is really cool. Okay, I'm just coming up with an idea in my in my head as we're going. So let's see, this is 5 inches, so I'm going to cut this to 4 3/4, and okay. Oh, it's ink. I've got ink on me. We're just going to cover it up. It's going to be fine. So, hold on. Don't you just love it when like inspiration hits out of the blue? I wanted to show you, I hadn't planned on this. I really should have. I don't know why I didn't think of it. We're going to do a faux embossing technique. Okay, so if you do not have an embossing folder, you don't have heat embossing, I want everybody to be able to participate in my swap. And so I don't want to leave anybody out. So if you don't have the other things I'm showing you tonight, you can do this faux embossing technique. Faux is French for fake, right? So this is a way to mimic the look of embossing without actually embossing. So first I'm going to do, this is sort of, we're going to like spotlight. I'm going to do a punched dragonfly. You can do this with any die cut or any punch. And I'm going to punch a whole bunch more using the same punch and some white cardstock. Okay, so I'm just going to do punch, punch, punch. That's loud, sorry. Okay, that should be enough. And I'm just going to use the big one for this one. And I'm going to start with, the one that I stamped. So we're sort of like spotlighting this one. And I'm going to kind of put it in the upper corner. And then I'm going to take the other ones and I'm going to tile them on the card so that it looks like an embossing folder, but it's not. Even if you don't do the spotlighting, you can still do this with shapes and create this like faux embossed look. Now it's best to do it and keep the images like close together so that it really fills up the whole thing. I'm trying to get the spacing just right. And I think think we can do one more. Oh, I feel like here's what we're going to do. Hopefully this will work. Yes. We got all the adhesive on and it's sticking over the edges. So we're going to cut our edges off. And then we can reuse some of these pieces on the other side to fill it out. I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I want to add like a little bit more over here. So I can put that one over there, and then I need some wings over here. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat and do and just do a half a wing. Okay. So this is a faux embossing technique. So it kind of looks like an embossing folder, but it's not. It's just the punched images over and over again. Okay, how would you finish this card then, Julie, since you started it? We can use the same pieces. Maybe not the same pieces because this one is not big enough. We could add another one, and then I would just do like a sentiment down there. Okay, so we have heat embossing, faux embossing, embossing folder. Are you guys ready to tackle the embossing paste? Leave a comment right now and tell me, have you ever used embossing paste before? Is this something that is new for you? I'm going to show you where it is in the annual catalog so you can see. I don't talk about it a lot, so I feel like it is something that you might not, especially if you're newer, you might not really be aware of. Let's see where it is. It's going to be back here. Is it on this page? You know what? It should be in the index, shouldn't it? That would just be the easy way to look. That's the stamp index. Paste embossing, page 128. I was so close. No, it is. Nope, one more. Here it is. I missed this page. Okay, so this is where you're going to find the embossing powder, the heat tool, the embossing powder, and the embossing paste. So the embossing paste is pictured right up here. There is a set of tools that you can get that we're going to use tonight, the palette knives. And then you can also get these decorative masks, which you can use with different things like the embossing paste, and you can use them with sponging, blending brushes, spritzing, but they pair really well with the embossing paste. So we have two different kinds of embossing paste. We have one that is the matte finish, and then the other one is a shimmery white finish. Okay, so I'm going to be using the matte finish embossing paste, and I have to tell you, I don't use this stuff very often, and so it was kind of dried out. I did keep the little lid thing, but it's stuck to the top. So before the video, I took it into the bathroom and I added some water and stirred it up. It should be kind of this like pasty, you know, consistency, because we're going to be like spreading it. So if your embossing paste is not like this, like paste, then try to just reconstitute it with some water, and then you'll be able to use it okay. If it's really dry and crumbly, you're not going to be successful in using it, you know, on your project. It's not going to work. Okay, so what we're doing, let me get out our stuff here. What we're doing for this project I was inspired by a project in the mini catalog using the Fond of Autumn bundle right up here, and I just thought this was so gorgeous. And it does use the embossing folder or embossing paste in the background, and I've been wanting to use this bundle, and so we're going to make a card with this bundle tonight, and we're going to do the embossing paste in the background, and then I'm going to show you how this stamp works, because it's one big stamp, but it has a die that die cuts it into several different pieces. So these are some other pre-cut pieces for our card. So for this card, I'm using a die cut from the Fond of Autumn set. So there's two pieces to this die. There's the detailed piece, and then there's the outline. And so I've die cut both of them to use as a template for our embossing paste tonight. Yeah, Lynn, it's just like icing. In fact, you could use the embossing paste and just put it on your punch out as frosting, right? You can add frosting to a stamped cake or a cupcake and really kind of add some fun texture to your card. We need a piece of crumb cake, which apparently I forgot to cut. So let me grab one and give it a quick cut. That's fine. Okay. I think the original card was a note card, but I wanted to give it more dimension on a card base. Okay, so we have our mask, or our, I don't want to say template. This is the piece that we're going to put the paste over. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit of paste on our palette brush, and we're going to spread it over the mask, over the die cut. And I've also got this, you'll notice, on a piece of scrap paper, because it is a little bit messy. We are getting messy tonight. And you want to spread it pretty thin. I'm going over the entire mask, and also adding some on the edges as well. Like I'm not afraid to kind of go under the edges and create that background. Okay, so just spreading it nice and thin, and then really, really nice and thin, because the leftover is going to go right back in the jar. So again, this is going to last you quite a while. It does dry pretty quickly, so you want to make sure to keep your container covered and sealed so it doesn't dry out. You also want to clean your tool right away, so I'm just using a wet paper towel to wipe that clean so that it doesn't dry on there. Okay, now we're going to take and we're going to remove our mask, and which was the die cut piece. Now this is just paper, and so I'm going to just throw it away. You could let it dry and reuse it, but it does have a lot of the paste kind of inside the die cut, and so I feel like it would like mute the image a little bit more, right? You don't get as much detail if you try to reuse it over and over again. So I'm just going to toss this whole bit into the trash so that I don't get embossing paste all over everything. And we cleaned off our palette knife, so I don't need that anymore. And then you want to allow this to dry. Okay, so I did one earlier, and I actually did two earlier. And the first one, I don't know, I didn't like the edges. I wanted more of the embossing paste on the edges, and so I redid it. And this is the second time with the template, and you can see that I didn't get quite the same detail as I did on the brand new one. So I do like this one a lot better, but this one is going to work for our card, and it's nice and dry. You can also see that it dries a little bit lighter when it's dry, so just keep that in mind as well. You can color the embossing paste with re-inker if you want to have a colored, look to it, or, a colored design. All right, so this is going to be the background for our card, and we're going to put this on another piece of white cardstock. And again, I'm casing this card from the catalog, and so I'm just going to run it the same way that they did. So I'm using some of this petal pink ribbon. I have a petal pink card base, and now I need to do the focal image. So I'm going to stamp that image from Fond Autumn. I'm going to stamp that in the Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and we're going to color and die cut the image for this card. If this is your first time watching, usually my cards are a little simpler. I'm really going out tonight and really playing with some techniques and doing a lot of stuff. So you don't have to always step up your card and go crazy, you know, with techniques. It's fun sometimes to try new things, but there is all kinds of stamping. So leave a comment, let me know, are you a simple stamper, or do you like to do all kinds of techniques and fun folds and really step up your cards? I know, Melissa, the colors on this card, I think, are what inspired me so much in a catalog. The petal pink and the crumb cake are gorgeous together. The other color I'm going to bring in here is soft succulent for the leaves. And I didn't consult the list of supplies, you know, on the supply list, but I did just sort of eyeball it. So for the acorns, I know this seems really strange, but it looks to me like they're using a dark petal pink and a light calypso coral for the acorns. I know acorns are usually more of a brown, but we're going to take a little creative license here. And again, I'm just kind of copying from the catalog. Let me show you the catalog image again. We're actually not going to color the whole thing because we're not going to use the flower part. So I'm just going to work on the other parts. And if I remember right, the colors here, we have brown leaves. There's the pink acorn. See, I told you. And then green leaves with white berries. Oh, so gorgeous. All right, so let's do those leaves next. Those are going to be brown, and then the other one's green. I'm using the soft succulent. And I'm going to leave the flowers. I'll color those another time. You don't need to watch me. You don't need to watch me mess that up. I feel like I would, totally. I have 2 crumb cake markers, and that brush tip was a little bit worn, so I'm just going to get out my other light crumb cake, and I'm going to do the whole leaf in the light crumb cake and then add some shading with the dark crumb cake. All the Stampin' blends come in pairs, so we've got light and dark of each color, and then you can keep going over them and adding different shades of color by just adding more and more layers. I'm going to just stop with those 2 and come back with the dark one. Sometimes I go and I do light and dark, and then I come back with the light again and do some more blending. I like to start with the lighter one because I feel like then when I put the dark one on, that it's already starting to blend and soak in with the lighter color. But you can start the other way and do the dark first and then blend it with the light. There's nothing wrong with that. Loving this. I'm going to do a little bit, let's do the dark. I'm going to get in with that really small tip and add some color here. The little fine print there. Let me see. Okay, that's I was consulting my color guide because there's 2 leaves right here. And in the catalog one, they used the soft succulent, the green for that part. So I will do the same. There's my light. I know. Oh, I just saw your comment, Janice. Walking on the wild side. I do feel like sometimes using different colors, you know, is a bit of a, I don't want to say a risk, right? But sometimes I hesitate to be creative with my color choices, but usually when I do, I'm really happy with the results. So I'm gonna add a little bit more color, and this is kind of going over some of those lines again. Okay, now with the soft succulent, I'm gonna do the same thing. Remember, I'm leaving the berries white, but I'm gonna add a little bit of, what am I gonna add? Wink of Stella, of course, to add a little sparkle to those white berries and really kind of give them a little dimension and make them pop a little bit. Soft succulent here, and then I'll go back with the dark and just add a little bit of line in the middle of the leaf. Kind of add that depth. If you just tuned in, you might be wondering who this is coloring. I don't usually color on my cards, so this is definitely something different for me. But these designs are kind of smaller, and so not as overwhelming. Wink of Stella, I've got it all primed and ready to go, so I'm just going to add those glitter accents to all those berries. I'm going to lift it up so you guys can see the difference. Can you see that, like, glitter sparkle? Maybe add a little bit to the top. Okay, so next up we're going to die cut, and the dies on this set, let me show them to you. We have some different dies. This one is the one I used for the template, and this actually does not coordinate with the stamped image. The stamp image is a little bit bigger, and so it is going to be this die. And you'll notice it has lines in the middle because this die is designed to die cut each of these little sections separately. So that's why I didn't color the flowers, because we're actually not going to use them on this card. We're going to get our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine out, and we're going to die cut this. Oop. Using the platform, along with the thin die adapter and 2 cutting plates. Let's go up a little so you guys can see. There we go. Gonna line that up on the platform and position our die. And crank it through. So our die cut 4 different sections. Okay, so that one die cut those pieces apart. So we can use this on another card. I'll color that later when I don't have an audience. We're going to put our die over here. You also see some dies for some of the other images in this stamp set, which include an individual flower, leaf, and acorn. There's also a banner for the die. I'm going to try to copy this one exactly, so I'm using the thank you sentiment, and I have a piece of cardstock. I cut 2 just in case I messed up. I have a piece of cardstock that is 1 3/4 inch by 1. And I just eyeballed it. You know, sometimes I can't tell in the catalog. So I looked at the stamp to see what kind of size I would need. And that's what I used to gauge the size. And then I just kept cutting it down. That looks pretty good. I don't need to restamp it. So I'm going to put that aside. And it is time to finish up our card. Man, that color looks totally off from the ribbon, but we're going to go with it. I think it'll be okay once it's all put together. We're going to layer that crumb cake background that has the embossing paste. We're going to layer that onto the white. And then the white image or the white layer onto the card. I was talking about this in another video. I always add my layers when my card base is flat. I find that it helps me to be able to line up that really straight without having it, you know, coming open and bowing. So I'm going to give that a little back rub upside down just to make sure it's adhered nicely. Next up is going to be the ribbon. And this is kind of a back and forth. I've cut that already. And my trick for ribbon like this, we're going to use the tear and tape to tape that down in the middle. So let's get out that tear and tape. And it's called tear and tape because you can just tear it right off. And it's tape. That's why it's called tear and tape. Okay, so that's going to go like that. Then we're going to have these. Let's consult our image again. And this is actually going to go that way, this way, that way. So covering up our tear and tape. And then we've got these pieces that are going to kind of come in the top and the bottom. And we'll add those on. And our thank you is going to kind of come like that. Maybe we need to scoot that over just a smidgy. All right, so those are going to go on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. Let's get those out and add them to our card. We kind of got our idea of where things are going. So we're going to start with those, and then we'll add the other pieces. Did you guys notice this sample in the catalog? I feel like sometimes it's really easy to overlook samples in the catalog, you know, if we're just focused on looking at stamps, or maybe even this wasn't a stamp set that caught your eye. And so for me, if the stamp set doesn't catch my eye, I don't really spend any time looking at the samples, right? So this was definitely one, though, that caught my eye. So I hope that you're enjoying this idea. I'm trying to decide if we should go high or straight on it. I wish the ribbon was a little, I think like that. I'm gonna bring that ribbon up a bit. And this is going to have a dimensional on this side and some adhesive on the other. I don't know, do you think it needs an embellishment? I'm trying to decide. The embossing paste adds such texture in the background that I'm not sure if it needs anything else. Leave a comment and tell me what you think. I was thinking about maybe adding some pearls or something like that. That's hard to say. While you're letting me know what you think about pearls, I'm going to review. So we did a card with embossing paste. That was this one. We did a card with an embossing folder. That's this one. We did heat embossing. That was this one. And I even showed you how to do faux embossing and create the look of an embossing folder using a series of punch outs or die cuts. So I hope that you feel inspired to send in a card for the Great Big Card Swap for our October theme, which is embossing. So whether you're using heat embossing, an embossing folder, embossing paste, or you're trying faux embossing, you can send your cards in for October to Julie Davison, P.O. Box 6164, Champaign, Illinois 61826. Make sure to include a postage stamp in your cards so that I can send a return card back to you. You can check out the Great Big Card Swap on YouTube. I'll put the link in the video description in case you missed Tuesday's video. I'm seeing your comments come in now, and Margot says it's good as is, but some of you are thinking yes to the pearls. Oh, it really could go either way. I'm seeing comments both ways. I think I'm gonna leave it. Oh, I don't know. I do want to add something. Let's see what we have. You know, one thing I was thinking about adding was the iridescent pearls. I'm going to give you one more plug for this, and we're going to talk about World Card Making Day and the class I have coming up. And then don't let me forget, I have some mail call to share with you and the class details. But first, let's add on some iridescent pearls. And I'm thinking of like right here in the berries, like I know I put Wink Stella on it, but I think adding the pearls on the berries is a fun way to add that texture and that shine. What do you think? Is that too much? Is that just right? I'm afraid the berries kind of get like, they're kind of neglected. So I think the pearls are just right. Okay, so you can get a free package of iridescent pearls when you purchase one of these 3 stamp sets for Stampin' Up's World Card Making Day special. And if you purchase Cottage Rose, Cottage Wreaths, or the brand new Sneak Peek Warm Welcome stamp set, you can get a free package of iridescent pearls. If you're ordering in the online store, make sure you add the pearls to your order along with the bundle to get them for free. This special ends on World Card Making Day, October 1st. Stampin' Up! Is having a Stamp Along, Craft Along event on October 1st from 2 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. There will be making 3 different cards featuring the bundles that I just showed you. Whether you have those bundles or not, you can tune in and watch or substitute and use other stamps and images that you have at home. Stampin' Up! Has sent an email today. If you're registered for the event, they sent an email with the event link as well as the measurements and other things so that you're ready to go for this event. But I wanted to let you know that I'm having a class on World Card Making Day too. I will be doing a designer paper Stamp-A-Stack class on Saturday, October 1st at 1 p.m. Central Time. So this is going to be before Stampin' Up's event, so you won't have to miss Stampin' Up's event. We're going to make some cards. We're going to make 13 cards using 6x6 designer paper. So if you would like to attend the class, this is a BYO, bring your own cardstock and designer paper. So I hope that you'll join me for this free class. Tune in and follow along. Right now, I'll add this to the video description. As soon as we're done, you can download the cutting template. You can cut your paper if you want right now, or you can wait and cut it with me during the class on Saturday. You're going to need 13 card bases, 6 6x6 pieces of designer paper, and then some tags or punch pieces to embellish. I'm also going to use some linen thread. I'm using the leaf tags and amber jewels. You can use any designer paper and any stamp set, any card bases, whatever you have at home, whether it's retired or new, whether it's the same as mine or not. I will have some additional samples to share. One set using the Boughs of Holly designer paper, and another one I'm hoping to make up using some designer paper from the annual catalog. So I will have samples using other paper to inspire you. If you can't watch live, it's okay. The replay will be available to watch afterwards. This will be a YouTube live at 1 p.m. Central Time. The flyer does include the link to the YouTube video, so it's all set up and ready for you. And it has the list of supplies that you'll need to have prepared. If you'd like, you can cut the paper according to the template, or you can do that with me on Saturday during the class. Okay, so look for this link in the video description. If you're on Facebook, I already posted it around 6 p.m. Central Time tonight, so you can find that post, or I'll include the information in this video when I update the description. I'm really excited about this card class. I hope that you'll join me to make 13 cards with these versatile layouts featuring the designer paper of your choice. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad you guys are excited about it too. Well, before we go, I do have some mail call to share with you, some cards that I've received over the week. I almost forgot, and then I saw them sitting there. So one of the things that I love about doing the Great Big Card Swap, you guys are so generous and you share extra cards with me. And so the first set of cards here are extra cards that I received from the Great Big Card Swap. So I already shared these on Tuesday. I won't dwell too much on them again, but I just want to give an another shout out to those people who sent extra cards for me. So this one is from Wanda McIntyre. I just love this combination of the mint macaron with the Hello Harvest stamp set. So gorgeous. And the split texture dies for the background is amazing. Speaking of amazing, this one's from Kimberly Barbas. She did a book fold card. This is one I've been meaning to try for a while, and I'm so inspired now receiving Kimberly's card. Kimberly, thank you again for such an amazing card. This also uses the Hello Harvest, the leaf file embossing folder that we used earlier today, and the shimmer, metallic and shimmer designer paper. This card was pretty amazing. This one's from Kathy Hone, and she saw this one from Terry Gaines. It is a gatefolds pop-up card, I think. Maybe she had it on the back. Here are the measurements. I'll pause on that really quick. I'm trying to remember what she called it. Oh, there goes the post-it. Anyway, super, super cool. I love that with the turkey talk. It's so much fun for Thanksgiving. Thank you, Kathy, for sending that extra to me. This one is from Diane Seraphin, and she also sent another card using this Gifts for Fall note card set for me as well. I think it's in the swap box still. So thank you, Diane, for sending those in. This is an extra card from Dorothy McCurdy, and she had a different card for her Great Big Card Swap, but she sent this one and said for me to keep the green one. I love this so much. This is the same bundle that we used tonight, and she die cut that detailed die on the stamped image and then added gold foil underneath. Isn't that stunning? Oh my goodness, I just love it. Thank you, Dorothy, so much for sending in the extra card. I got a few other cards in the mail over the last 2 weeks, and I just wanted to share those. This one is from Winnie, and she used the No Matter the Weather card kit, which is so much fun. We have some really great kits on the Stampin' Up website. You can go to stampinup.com/kits to look at the kits collection, and this is one of the kits that is available. I love these quick and easy little note cards. This one is from Mesa Sama. She's the one who sent in the carved wood card, and then this is really fun with this like extended what'd you call it? And it's not really an easel card, just kind of a fun stand-up card. So Maisie sent me the directions for the carved wood technique to follow up on that card. So thank you, Maisie, for that cute snail mail card. I just loved it. Made me smile. This one's from Carol Rosenboom. Oh, I hope I got that right, Carol. I enjoyed your note very much. She said that she was inspired by the card video that Mom and I did featuring the mini catalog host Rosenboom, I think. I'm sorry, Carol. With the caroling mice. Just so cute, Carol. Thank you so much for this amazing card. I love this Peaceful Cabin designer paper in the background as the trees. Really just so much fun. This one's from Jill Linden Steele. I love the color blocking here with the designer paper. And it was so great to see you, Jill, when you were here in Illinois. And I look forward very much to our next visit. Last card is from Tony Shaw. Oh my gosh, Tony, I was tickled that you remembered my wedding anniversary, which is coming up next week on Friday. It just made my day to receive this card with the cute little Scotty punches. It is the first anniversary card we have received this year, and I just thought it was so adorable. Thank you, Tony, for thinking of Jim and I as we celebrate 22 years on our wedding anniversary this year. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you for spoiling me so much with your beautiful cards and with your friendship as well. It means so much to me that you tune in every week and create right along with me. I look forward to stamping with you on Saturday for World Card Making Day. So tune in over on YouTube. I'll share the details again in the video description here. And that's 1:00 p.m. this Saturday, October 1st for World Card Making Day. Have a great night, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.